Good evening, dear friend. Wherever you are tonight, perhaps wrapped in a blanket or watching snow drift beyond your window, welcome back. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? And what time is it there? I love seeing your voices from every corner of the world. Tonight, we open one of the most beloved tales of all time, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, a story of ghosts and grace, of cold hearts and warm light, carrying the timeless spirit of Christmas through every shadow. So breathe softly. Let the world fall quiet around you. And listen. Our journey begins here. Stave 2, the first of the three spirits. Awakening midway through a most formidable snore, and sitting bolt upright to gather the fragments of his wandering thoughts, Scrooge needed no one to tell him that the hour had struck again. The bell was on the stroke of 1. He felt with an odd certainty that he had been roused precisely at the right instant, summoned for a new encounter with the second of Marley's promised messengers. Yet, as a shiver of dread crept over him, at the thought of which curtain the next spectre might draw aside, he forestalled the terror by throwing them all open with his own trembling hands. Then, lying back once more, he fixed his eyes sharply upon the shadows about the bed, resolved to meet the spirit at the very instant of its coming, and not be caught unguarded or made fearful by surprise. Men of bold temper, who boast themselves clever in every game of life and quick at any hour of day, declare that their courage runs from play to peril, from pitch and toss to manslaughter, and all the wild span between. Without likening Scrooge to such swaggering fellows, let it be said that he, too, stood ready for a vast field of wonders, and little between a wailing infant and a charging rhinoceros could have greatly startled him. But though prepared for nearly everything, he was not prepared for nothing. Thus, when the bell tolled 1 and no shape appeared, he was seized with a dreadful trembling. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 15. Yet still, no spirit came. All this while, he lay amid a strange, ruddy blaze that streamed around his bed at the very moment the clock had struck. The glow, being but light and not substance, filled him with a deeper unease than a dozen ghosts might have done, for he could not divine its meaning, nor whether it portended salvation or doom. More than once he fancied, in mortal dread, that he might be smoldering away in a case of spontaneous combustion, without the least awareness of it himself. At length, though you or I might have thought of it sooner, for those not trapped in such a plight always know best what should be done, At length, I say, Scrooge reasoned that the source of that ghostly glow might lie in the adjoining chamber, where indeed it seemed to shine the brightest. With this thought kindling his purpose, he rose softly and shuffled across the floor in his slippers toward the door. The instant his hand touched the lock, a strange voice spoke his name and bade him enter. He obeyed. It was his own room. Of that there could be no doubt, but changed beyond all recognition. The walls and ceiling were clad in living green, until the place seemed a woodland glade, every leaf sparkling with bright berries like drops of fire. Holly, ivy, and mistletoe gleamed as if each leaf were a mirror catching the dancing light. And such a roaring blaze leapt up the chimney as no hearth in Scrooge's or Marley's time had ever known. Upon the floor, heaped high like a throne, lay turkeys, geese, game, joints of meat, and suckling pigs, garlands of sausages, pies, puddings, barrels of oysters, blazing chestnuts, blushing apples, golden oranges, luscious pears, towering 12th cakes, and steaming bowls of punch whose sweet vapors dimmed the very air. And seated there, in majestic ease upon that throne of plenty, was a mighty giant, radiant and mirthful to behold. In his grasp, he held a flaming torch shaped like a horn of abundance, which he raised high to pour its glow upon Scrooge as the old man crept in at the threshold. "Come in," cried the ghost. "Come in, and know me better, man." Scrooge entered softly, his head bowed low before the mighty spirit. Gone was the obstinate old man of former nights, and though the spirit's eyes shone with warmth and kindness, he dared not meet their gaze. "I am the ghost of Christmas present," said the spirit. "Look upon me." With reverence, Scrooge obeyed. The spirit was wrapped in a robe of deep green, edged with white fur. The garment hung loose and flowing, leaving the great breast bare, as though it disdained concealment. Its feet, bare beneath the ample folds, touched the ground in quiet majesty. Upon its head rested a wreath of holly, decked with glittering icicles. Long curls of dark brown hair framed a face alight with geniality, eyes that sparkled like winter stars, a voice rich and merry, and a bearing full of open joy. Around its waist hung an ancient scabbard, empty of sword, the sheath long since eaten with rust. "You have never seen the like of me before," declared the spirit. "Never," replied Scrooge, "have never walked forth with the younger members of my family, my elder brothers, born in the later years?" asked the phantom. "I don't think I have," said Scrooge. "I am afraid I have not." "Have you had many brothers spirit?" "More than 1,800, said the ghost. "A tremendous family to provide for," murmured Scrooge. The ghost of Christmas present arose in quiet grandeur. "Spirit," said Scrooge humbly, "conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and learned a lesson that works upon me still. Tonight, if you have aught to teach, let me profit by it." "Touch my robe," Scrooge obeyed, and held fast to the fabric. In an instant, holly and mistletoe, red berries, ivy, turkeys, geese, game, poultry, meats, puddings, fruit, and punch vanished. The hearth, the fire, the ruddy glow, all were gone. They stood now in the streets of the city on Christmas morning. The weather was bitter, yet the people made music of their labor, scraping snow from rooftops and thresholds, their shovels singing in rough, merry rhythm. Boys laughed aloud as cascades of snow came tumbling from above, bursting into clouds of white delight. The houses stood black against the pale roofs, the windows darker still, while below, the churned snow mixed with yellow mud and frozen ruts made a web of winding channels. The air hung thick with a dim, sooty mist, half thawed, half frozen, falling like ashes from 1,000 blazing hearths. Yet, despite the gloom, there was cheer abroad, such as no summer sky could match. Men and women laughed from their roofs, pelting one another with snowballs, shouting with good humor, whether they hit or missed. Shops stood open and radiant, the poulterers gleaming with their birds, the fruiterers glorious with their bounty. Round baskets of chestnuts lolled at the doors like the bellies of jolly old men. Brown onions, fat and shining, winked slyly from their shelves at passing girls. Apples and pears rose in bright pyramids. Grapes hung in tempting clusters. Filberts lay piled in fragrant heaps, recalling walks through autumn woods. Norfolk biffins glowed beside oranges and lemons, begging to be taken home and feasted upon. Even the gold and silver fish swam in excited circles, as if sensing the spirit of the day. And oh, the grocers, nearly closed, yet alive with magic. The chime of scales, the rattle of canisters, the rich scent of coffee and spice filled the air. Figs, plums, almonds, cinnamon, candied fruits, all shone like treasures of the season. Customers jostled and laughed, dropping parcels, returning for them again, their joy as bright as the wares themselves. Behind the counters, the grocers smiled with open hearts, their aprons fastened with polished pins that seemed to be their very hearts worn outward, hearts for Christmas to see and share. Soon the bells in the steeples rang out across the frosty air, summoning all good folk to church and chapel. Through the cobbled streets they came, bright-faced and clad in their finest, while from hidden lanes and crooked alleys emerged countless others, poor souls carrying their humble dinners to the bakers' shops. The Spirit's eyes gleamed with gentle wonder at the sight, and standing with Scrooge in a baker's doorway, he lifted the cover of each dish that passed and touched it with his torch. From that torch drifted not flame, but a fragrant blessing, and wherever its light fell, peace followed. When quarrels rose among the dinner-bearers who had jostled each other, a few drops from the torch fell between them, and in an instant, laughter returned. "'Tis a shame to quarrel on Christmas Day," they said. And so it was. God bless it, so it was. At last, the bells were silent. The bakers closed their shutters. And yet, one could still sense the warmth of those unseen feasts, their savor rising faintly in the thawing patches of snow above each oven, where the very stones seemed to smoke as if sharing in the feast below. "Is there a special flavor in what you sprinkle from your torch?" asked Scrooge. "There is, my own. Would it bless any dinner on this day? To any kindly given, to a poor one most. Why to a poor one most? Because it needs it most." "Spirit," said Scrooge after a pause, "I wonder that you, of all the beings in all the worlds about us, should wish to restrain these people's joy." "Aye," cried the Spirit, "you would deny them the means of dining every seventh day, often the only day they truly dine at all," said Scrooge. "Wouldn't you?" "Aye," cried the Spirit. "You would close these places on the seventh day," said Scrooge, "and it comes to the same thing." "I seek," exclaimed the Spirit. "Forgive me if I am wrong," said Scrooge humbly. "It has been done in your name, or at least in that of your kind." "There are some upon your earth," replied the Spirit, "who pretend to know us, and who do deeds of pride, envy, hatred, and selfishness in our name. But they are as strange to us as if they had never lived. Lay their sins to their own charge, and not to us." Scrooge bowed and promised he would. Together they went on, unseen as before, through the snowy suburbs. It was a wondrous thing, Scrooge thought, how the ghost, vast and mighty though he was, could move through narrow rooms as lightly as moonlight itself, bending his height beneath low rafters without losing an ounce of grace or majesty. Perhaps it was delight in this power, or perhaps simple kindness, that led him to the humble dwelling of Bob Cratchit. Holding fast to the spirit's robe, Scrooge followed as the ghost paused upon the threshold, smiling, and with a sprinkle from his torch, blessed the poor clerk's home. Imagine it. Bob, who earned but 15 bob a week, and yet the ghost of Christmas present stooped to bless his 4-roomed house. Then up rose Mrs. Cratchit, brave and cheerful, though her gown was twice turned and threadbare, her ribbons bright as any lady's jewels. Belinda, the second daughter, helped her spread the cloth, while young Peter, proud in his father's shirt collar, so broad it almost swallowed him, stabbed a fork into the potatoes and beamed with joy, dreaming of strolling in the parks to show off his splendid linen. And then came the 2 younger Cratchits, a boy and a girl, bursting through the doorway like a winter gust, crying aloud that they had smelt the goose outside the baker's, and knew by its savor that it was their own. Drunk on the delicious dream of sage and onion, they whirled about the table in wild delight, praising Master Peter Cratchit as though he were a prince. And he, though his stiff collar near strangled him, only smiled modestly and bent to blow the fire, till the bubbling potatoes clamored within the pot, knocking at the lid as if to beg release, and pealing. "What can have become of your dear father?" said Mrs. Cratchit. "And your brother, Tiny Tim? And Martha wasn't half so late last Christmas Day." "Here's Martha, Mother," cried a bright young voice, and a girl entered with laughter. "Here's Martha, Mother," echoed the 2 small Cratchits. "Hurrah! There's such a goose, Martha. Bless your dear heart, how late you are," cried Mrs. Cratchit, kissing her child a dozen times, untying her shawl and bonnet with bustling love. "We'd much to finish last night, Mother," said the girl, "and had to clear away this morning." "Well, no matter. Now you are here," said Mrs. Cratchit tenderly. "Sit you down before the fire and warm yourself. The Lord bless you." "No, no! There's Father coming!" cried the little ones, darting about. "Hide, Martha, hide!" So Martha slipped behind the closet door, just as Bob Cratchit entered. A threadbare comforter, 3 feet long, swinging before him, his patched coat brushed into decency, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas, poor Tiny Tim, his small frame braced by iron, a little crutch in hand. "Why, where's our Martha?" said Bob, looking about. "Not coming," said Mrs. Cratchit. "Not coming," he repeated, his joy sinking suddenly, for he had been Tiny Tim's proud steed, all the way from church, prancing with holiday glee. "Not coming upon Christmas Day?" Martha could not bear the sorrow in his face, even in jest, so she ran forth from her hiding place and flew into his arms. The younger Cratchits carried off Tiny Tim to the wash-house, that he might hear the pudding singing merrily in the copper. "And how did little Tim behave?" asked Mrs. Cratchit, after teasing Bob for his credulity, and seeing him hug his daughter close. "As good as gold," said Bob. "And better. He grows thoughtful, sitting alone so much, and says the strangest things. Coming home, he told me he hoped the people in church saw him, being a cripple, that it might remind them on Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see." Bob's voice quivered as he spoke, and trembled more when he said that Tiny Tim was growing strong and hearty. Soon, the tap of his little crutch was heard, and back came Tim, escorted by his brother and sister, to his stool by the fire. Bob rolled up his shabby cuffs and mixed a steaming jug of gin and lemons, setting it to simmer on the hob, while Master Peter and the ever-busy young Cratchits went proudly to fetch the goose. Then there arose such bustle and cheer, as if a goose were a creature of legend, rarer than a black swan. And so, indeed, it seemed in that humble home. Mrs. Cratchit made the gravy bubbling hot. Master Peter mashed the potatoes with heroic strength. Miss Belinda sweetened the applesauce. Martha dusted the plates. Bob seated Tiny Tim beside him in a snug corner, and the little Cratchits, setting chairs for all, stuffed their spoons in their mouths to keep from crying out for goose before their turn. At last the dishes were brought forth, grace was spoken, and Christmas joy filled the room like a benediction. A hush fell upon the little room, so deep one could almost hear the beating of every heart. Mrs. Cratchit, pale yet resolute, ran her eyes along the edge of the carving knife as though it were a blade of destiny. And then, with solemn courage, she plunged it into the breast. For a breathless instant, all waited. Then forth came the long-awaited gush of steaming stuffing, and a murmur of delight rippled around the humble board. Even Tiny Tim, stirred by the merry cries of his siblings, drummed the table with his knife handle and piped out a faint "Hurrah!" Never had there been such a goose. Bob declared, with a faith that could not be shaken, that no bird on earth had ever been cooked to such perfection. Its tenderness, its savor, its size and thrift were praised as though it were a marvel wrought by Christmas magic itself. With applesauce and mashed potatoes, it made a feast fit for kings. And, as Mrs. Cratchit joyfully observed, finding but a lonely bone on the dish, they had not devoured it all. Each was filled to bursting. The youngest Cratchits in particular, so laden with sage and onion, they fairly glowed. Then, while Miss Belinda cleared the plates, Mrs. Cratchit stole from the room, alone, trembling, and full of secret fears, to fetch the pudding. Suppose it should not be done enough. Suppose it should break in turning out. Suppose, heaven forbid, some prowler had climbed the wall and stolen it whilst they made merry with the goose. At that dark thought, the two youngest grew white as chalk. Many a horror was imagined in that moment. "Hark! What a cloud of steam!" cried someone. The pudding was out of the copper at last. A smell like washing day. That was the cloth. A smell like a pastry cook's shop beside a tavern, beside a laundress's door. That was the pudding. Presently, Mrs. Cratchit returned, flushed and glowing, bearing triumphantly the pudding, a speckled cannonball, firm and glistening, blazing with a bright blue flame of ignited brandy, crowned with a sprig of Christmas holly. "Oh, a wonderful pudding!" cried Bob Cratchit, and calmly too, though his eyes shone with pride. He declared it the greatest triumph his wife had ever achieved since their wedding day. Mrs. Cratchit, her heart now light, confessed she had doubted the quantity of flour. All had something kind to say, yet no one dared whisper. It might be small for so large a family. Such a thought would have been heresy. Every Cratchit would have blushed scarlet to hint it. At length, the dinner was done. The cloth was folded away, the hearth swept, the fire stirred to a merry glow. The steaming jug was tasted and found perfect. Apples and oranges were placed upon the table, and chestnuts hissed upon the fire. Then the Cratchit clan gathered in a half circle about the hearth, their 2 tumblers and a handleless custard cup gleaming proudly in Bob's keeping. They served the hot drink as though from golden goblets, while the chestnuts cracked and sang. Bob lifted his glass. "A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us," he said, and every voice joined the chorus. "God bless us, everyone," said Tiny Tim, last and sweetest of all. He nestled close beside his father, perched upon his little stool. Bob held the child's frail hand in his own, as though by love alone he could keep him safe and near. "Spirit," said Scrooge, feeling a strange stirring in his heart. "Tell me if Tiny Tim will live." "I see a vacant seat," replied the ghost, "by the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully kept. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die." "No, no," said Scrooge. "Oh no, kind spirit, say he will be spared. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future," said the ghost, "none other of my race will find him here. What then? If he be like to die, he had better do it, and decrease the surplus population." Scrooge bowed his head, stricken to hear his own words spoken back to him, and sorrow welled within him like a flood. "Man," said the ghost, "if man you be in heart, not stone, cease that wicked talk until you have learned what the surplus is and where it lies. Will you decree who shall live and who shall die? It may be before heaven's eyes that you are less worthy to breathe than millions like this poor man's child. O God, to hear the insect upon the leaf pronouncing judgment on the too much life among his starving brothers in the dust." Scrooge bent low before the ghost's rebuke, trembling as he cast his eyes upon the floor. Yet soon he raised them again, for his own name had been spoken aloud. "Mr. Scrooge!" cried Bob. "I'll give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast." "The founder of the feast, indeed!" exclaimed Mrs. Cratchit, her cheeks aflame. "I wish I had him here before me. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I hope his appetite would serve him well." "My dear," said Bob softly, "the children. Christmas Day. It should be Christmas Day, I am sure," said she, "when one must drink to the health of such a cold, stingy, hard, and unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. None know it better than you, poor soul." "My dear," replied Bob, again, mild as winter light, "Christmas Day, I'll drink his health for your sake, and the day's," said Mrs. Cratchit, "not for his. Long life to him. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I've no doubt." The children lifted their cups after her, but the warmth had gone from the cheer. Tiny Tim drank last of all, and cared not a twopence for it, for Scrooge was the ogre of that household. The sound of his name threw a shadow across the room, a dark mist that lingered nearly 5 full minutes before it melted away. When it had lifted, they grew 10 times merrier, simply for the relief of being rid of Scrooge the Baleful. Bob told them then of a place he had in mind for Master Peter, which, if won, would bring in 5 and 6pence a week. The 2 young Cratchits roared with laughter at the thought of Peter as a man of business, and Peter, blushing, stared into the fire from between his collars, as though deciding what wise investments he might make with such a grand fortune. Martha, the poor apprentice at the milliner's, told next of her toil, the long hours, the aching fingers, and how she meant to sleep late on the morrow, being a holiday to spend at home. She spoke, too, of how she had seen a countess and a lord not many days ago, and how the lord was much about as tall as Peter, whereupon Peter pulled his collar so high that no one might see his head at all. Meanwhile, the chestnuts crackled, and the jug made its round again and again. And by, Tiny Tim sang a song, a tender tale of a lost child wandering through the snow. His voice was small and plaintive, yet sweet as any robin's. There was nothing grand in any of this. They were not a handsome family. Their garments were worn, their shoes let in water, and Peter might have known the pawnbroker's shop, inside and out. Yet they were content, grateful, kind, and full of one another's company. And when the vision faded, Scrooge beheld them through the glow of the Spirit's torch, his gaze resting most of all upon little Tiny Tim. Now the night deepened, and heavy snow fell. As Scrooge and the Spirit passed through the streets, every window glimmered with firelight, the warm heart of many a home. Behind each curtain, the blaze revealed tables laid for feast and laughter, with red draperies ready to be drawn against the cold. Children dashed through the snow to greet returning kin. Sisters, brothers, uncles, aunts, shouting and bright with joy. Shadows of merry guests flickered upon frosted panes. Fair maidens in hoods and fur boots tripped past, their chatter filling the air, while some lonely bachelor, catching sight of them, felt himself bewitched. And truly, one might have thought no soul stayed at home, for every house seemed to expect company, and fires leapt high as chimneys in welcome. Blessings on it. How the ghost rejoiced. It bared its shining breast to the falling snow, stretched wide its generous hands, and floated on, scattering bright laughter and gentle joy upon all it passed. Even the lamplighter, who hurried before them through the dim streets, pricking the dusk with drops of gold, and dressed as though bound for merry company, burst out laughing as the Spirit glided past, though little did the lamplighter dream that he shared the road with Christmas itself. And lo, without a whisper or warning from the ghost, they stood upon a desolate moor, where monstrous stones lay scattered, as though it were the graveyard of forgotten giants. Pools of water spread where they willed, yet the frost bound them fast in icy fetters. Nothing grew there save moss, thorn, and coarse, ghostly grass. In the far west, the sinking sun had left behind a crimson scar, which burned upon the wilderness like a sullen, watchful eye, until, lowering, dimming, and frowning still, it sank at last into the thick shadow of night. "What place is this?" asked Scrooge. "A place where miners dwell, those who labor in the bowels of the earth," replied the Spirit. "Yet even here they know me. Look and see, from a lone window gleamed a spark of light, and toward it they hastened. Passing through walls of clay and stone, they beheld a joyful company gathered round a buzzing fire, an ancient man and woman, their children, their children's children, and another brood beyond, all decked in bright holiday array. The old man, his voice faint against the howl of wind over the barren waste, sang an aged Christmas tune. It had been old even when he was young, and now and again the others joined in the refrain. Each time their voices rose, the old man's heart grew lighter and his tone stronger. Each time they ceased, his strength sank again. Like an ebbing tide, the spirit tarried not, but bade Scrooge grasp his robe, and over the moor they flew. Whither? Not to land, but to sea. Scrooge, looking back, beheld the last of earth, a dread ridge of jagged rocks, and his ears rang with the thunder of waters roaring and raging among hollow caverns, striving madly to tear the land asunder. Upon a dismal reef of sunken stone, leagues from any shore, stood a lonely lighthouse. The waves lashed its base all the year round, and great heaps of seaweed clung about it like the hair of drowned men. Wild birds, children of storm and foam, wheeled and dipped around it, rising and falling with the sea. Yet even here, two keepers of the light had kindled a fire. Through the narrow chink in the thick wall, a ray shone out upon the monstrous sea. Rough hands clasped across the table. They wished each other a Merry Christmas over their cup of grog. Then the elder, whose face was scarred and seared by many tempests, like the carved figurehead of an ancient ship, lifted his voice in a sturdy song that rolled like a gale through the stone chamber. Once more the ghost sped on, high above the black and heaving waters. On, ever on, until, far from any shore, they came upon a ship. There they stood beside the helmsman at his wheel, the lookout at the bow, and the officers keeping watch. Ghostly figures all, shadowed in the lantern glow, yet each man hummed a Christmas tune or whispered of some long past Christmas morn, or dreamed of home and hearts that waited for him. For every soul aboard, waking or sleeping, wicked or kind, held a gentler thought that day than on any other in the year. Each had shared, however faintly, in the gladness of the feast. Each had remembered those beloved and far away, and had known, too, that he was remembered in return. It came as a great marvel to Scrooge, listening to the moaning wind and pondering the dreadful mystery of drifting through darkness over the abyss, an abyss whose secrets were as deep as death, that he should hear, suddenly, a hearty laugh. Greater still was his wonder to know it as his nephew's laughter, and to find himself at once in a bright, warm chamber, dry and glowing with cheer, the spirit smiling by his side and gazing with approval upon the young man. "Ha ha," laughed Scrooge's nephew. "Ha ha ha. And if, by some rare fortune, you know of any man more blessed in laughter than Scrooge's nephew, then introduce him to me, and I shall count it joy to call him friend." It is a just and noble balance in the world, that though sorrow and sickness spread their shadow swiftly, there is nothing so wondrously infectious as laughter and good cheer. And when Scrooge's nephew laughed, clutching his sides, throwing back his head, twisting his face in the most comical fashion, the sound was so hearty that Scrooge's niece, his wife, joined in with a merry peal of her own. Their guests, unable to resist the spell, followed in chorus until the room rang like bells at Christmas time. "Ha ha 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 ha. He said that Christmas was a humbug, as I live," cried Scrooge's nephew. "He believed it too." "More shame for him, Fred," exclaimed Scrooge's niece, her eyes bright with indignation. "Ah, bless the hearts of women. They are never lukewarm in feeling, but always full to the brim with earnest fire. She was fair indeed, exceedingly fair, with a face fresh as morning, and a mouth made for kisses, as surely it had known them. Little dimples played about her chin and melted into one another when she laughed, and her eyes, the sunniest eyes ever lit in any mortal head, sparkled with the warmth of the hearth. You might have found her provoking, perhaps, but delightfully so, entirely pleasing in her way. "He's a comical old fellow," said Scrooge's nephew. "That's the truth. Not as pleasant as he might be, yet his faults punish themselves, and I hold no grudge against him." "I'm sure he is very rich, Fred," hinted Scrooge's niece. "At least you always tell me so." "What of that, my dear?" laughed the nephew. "His riches serve him no more than chains of gold to a prisoner. He gains no comfort from them, nor does he dream, ha ha ha, that we shall ever inherit a penny of it." "I have no patience with him," said the niece sharply, and her sisters and every lady there nodded in agreement. "Oh, I have," said Scrooge's nephew. "I am sorry for him. Truly, I could not be angry if I tried. Who suffers from his sour temper? He alone. Here he takes a fancy to despise us, and so stays away from our table. And what comes of it? He loses only his dinner. Indeed, I think he loses a very good dinner," cried the niece, to which all agreed, for they had just finished it, and were gathered by the fire amid lamplight and dessert. "Well, I am glad to hear it," said Scrooge's nephew, "for I confess I had little faith in these young housekeepers. What say you, Topper?" Now Topper had his gaze fixed upon one of the sisters, the plump one with the lace tucker, not she of the roses, and he declared that a bachelor was a wretched creature, unfit to offer judgment. At that, the plump sister blushed rosy red. "Do go on, Fred," said the niece, clapping her hands. "He never finishes what he begins to say. He is such a ridiculous man." Scrooge's nephew burst into another laugh. And since mirth spreads quicker than frost on a window pane, the others followed suit, though the plump sister made a gallant effort to resist it with aromatic vinegar. "I was only going to say," continued the nephew, "that if he chooses to dislike us and refuse our company, the loss is his. He misses happy moments that would do him no harm. I dare say he forfeits better company than he can find among his ledgers and cobwebs. Still, I shall give him the chance each year, whether he wills it or not, for I pity him. He may rail at Christmas until his dying breath, but he cannot help thinking better of it. I defy him. When he sees me come again, cheerful and hearty, saying, 'Uncle Scrooge, how are you?' If it should move him to leave his poor clerk £50, that is something. And I think I shook him yesterday." Then they all laughed anew at the thought of Fred shaking old Scrooge. Yet being kind and merry souls, they cared little what the jest was, so long as they could laugh together. And so the bottle passed joyously, and the light of their laughter danced upon the walls like the very spirit of Christmas itself. After they had taken their tea, the household, being of a merry and musical nature, gathered round for songs and melody. And truly, they knew what they were about when they lifted their voices in a glee or catch. Most especially old Topper, who could growl out the bass like a cheerful bear, never once reddening his face or swelling the veins upon his brow. Scrooge's niece, fair and bright-eyed, took her place at the harp, and her fingers danced upon the strings. Among the tunes she played was a simple air, so plain you might whistle it in 2 minutes, that had been dear to the heart of the child who once came to fetch lonely Scrooge from his schoolroom, as the ghost of Christmas past had shown him. And when that tender melody rose again, all the visions the spirit had conjured came flooding back to his mind. His heart melted as wax before a flame, and he thought with sorrow that had he often heard such sweet strains in his youth, he might have learned the gentler arts of life and carved out happiness with his own hands, rather than digging graves with the sexton's spade that buried Jacob Marley. Yet music was not their only delight that evening. Soon they turned to forfeits and games, for it is meet to be as children now and then, and never better than at Christmas, when the mighty founder of the feast was a child himself. "Stop!" you cry. Yes, there was first a round of blind man's buff, as there surely must be. But mark this well. I do not believe for a moment that Topper was truly blind. any more than I believe he had eyes hidden in his boots. Nay, it was all a merry plot between him and Scrooge's nephew, and the ghost of Christmas present knew it too, for the way he blundered after that plump sister in the lace tucker was a scandal upon all reason. He stumbled over chairs, upset the fire irons, crashed into the piano, and wrapped himself among the curtains. But wherever she went, he followed close behind. He would catch no one else. And should any other guest collide with him, as several did on purpose, he made only a mock attempt to seize them, then slyly turned again toward the plump sister. She protested often that it was not fair. And truly, it was not. But when at last he caught her, despite all her fluttering silks and light feet, and cornered her where no escape could be found, his conduct was outrageous indeed. For he pretended not to know her, claimed he must touch her headdress, and even pressed her ring and chain to confirm her identity. Vile, monstrous. Yet no doubt she gave him a fine scolding for it later, when, another blind man being chosen, the two whispered together behind the curtains in great secrecy. Now, Scrooge's niece took no part in blind man's buff, but sat warmly in a great cushioned chair by the hearth, the ghost and Scrooge standing close behind. She joined, however, in the forfeits, and played Love, Love, Love with such charm that all admired her skill. In the game of how, when, and where, she shone yet brighter, to the secret joy of her husband, who saw her outwit her sharp-tongued sisters, though they too were no fools, as Topper could well attest. There might have been a score of souls in that room, young and old, yet all played heartily, and so did Scrooge himself. Forgetting that none could hear his voice, he cried out his guesses aloud, and oftentimes guessed right too, for no needle forged in Whitechapel was ever sharper than old Scrooge, though he fancied himself dull enough. The ghost was much pleased to see him in so gay a humor, and gazed upon him kindly. Scrooge, like a child begging a few more moments before bedtime, entreated to stay until the guests were gone, but the spirit shook its head. "Here is a new game," Scrooge cried. "Only half an hour more." Spirit, only one, and so it was a game of yes and no. Scrooge's nephew thought of something, and the rest were to guess what it might be, he answering only yes or no. From their lively questioning, it soon appeared that he was thinking of a creature, an animal, a living one, though not a pleasant sort, fierce, growling, and sullen. One that lived in London, wandered the streets at will, was not shown for money, not led by any master, nor kept in a cage, neither horse, nor ass, nor cow, nor bull, nor tiger, nor dog, nor pig, nor cat, nor bear. At every new question tossed into the merry guessing game, Fred's laughter burst forth anew, loud, hearty, and infectious. So much so that he was forced to spring up from the sofa and stamp his feet in sheer delight. At last, his round-faced sister, overtaken by the same mirth, cried out between her giggles, "I have found it out! I know what it is, Fred! I know what it is!" "What is it?" shouted Fred. "It's your Uncle Scrooge!" And indeed, so it was. The whole company fell into admiration and laughter, though a few, half in jest, objected that when asked, "Is it a bear?" the answer ought properly to have been yes, for a no could scarcely have led their thoughts astray from Mr. Scrooge, if ever they had wandered in that direction. "He has given us plenty of merriment, I am sure," said Fred, still glowing with cheer. "And it would be ungrateful not to drink his health. Here is a glass of mulled wine ready to our hand. And I say, Uncle Scrooge! Well, Uncle Scrooge!" they all cried together. "A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the old man, whatever he is," added Fred warmly. "He wouldn't take it from me, but may he have it nevertheless." Uncle Scrooge, and in that unseen corner of the room, Uncle Scrooge himself had grown so light of spirit, so softened in heart, that he might have raised his own invisible glass in return and mumbled his thanks, had the ghost granted him but a moment more. But the vision dissolved with the last echo of his nephew's words, and he and the spirit were once more abroad on their journey. They saw much and traveled far, visiting many homes, each closing with joy. The spirit stood beside sick beds, and they grew cheerful. In distant lands, and they felt at home, with the weary and the striving, and they were patient with renewed hope. Among the poor, and poverty itself seemed rich. In almshouses, hospitals, and prisons, every refuge of sorrow, where man's pride had not barred the door, the Spirit left a blessing, teaching Scrooge lessons no mortal tongue could utter. It was a long night, if indeed it was but one night. Yet Scrooge doubted it, for the Christmas season seemed compressed into those few hours. Stranger still, though Scrooge's form remained unchanged, the spirit's hair had turned gray, older with each passing scene. Scrooge noted it in silence, until, after leaving a children's 12th night feast, he looked upon the ghost in an open place and said softly, "Are spirits' lives so short? My life upon this globe is very brief," replied the ghost. "It ends tonight." "Tonight!" exclaimed Scrooge. "Tonight, at midnight. Hark, the time draws near." The chimes were ringing the 11:15. "Forgive me if I am not justified in what I ask," said Scrooge, his gaze fixed upon the spirit's robe. "But I see something strange and not belonging to yourself protruding from your skirts. Is it a foot or a claw?" "It might be a claw, for the flesh there is upon it," said the spirit sorrowfully. "Look here." From the folds of its robe, it drew forth 2 children, wretched, frightful creatures, pitiful beyond words. They knelt at the spirit's feet, clutching its garment with trembling hands. "Oh, man, look here! Look down here!" cried the ghost. A boy and a girl they were, yellowed, meager, ragged, scowling, wolfish, and yet bowed low in desperate humility. Where innocence and youth should have shone upon their faces, age had laid its withering hand, pinching and twisting them into ruin. Where angels might have sat enthroned, devils crouched instead, glaring out with hateful eyes. No change, no corruption in all the world's mystery could produce monsters half so dreadful. Scrooge recoiled, horror-struck. To soften the sight, he tried to stammer that they were fine children, but the words choked him, dying on his lips rather than live in so great a falsehood. A chill passed through the air as Scrooge whispered, trembling, "Spirit, are they yours?" The phantom's eyes glimmered with sorrow as it looked down upon the wretched pair. "They are man's," it answered in a voice like wind over a grave. "And they cling to me, crying out from the sins of their fathers. This boy is ignorance, this girl is want. Beware them both, and all who spring from their kind. But above all, beware this boy, for upon his brow is written doom, unless that writing be erased. Deny it," cried the spirit, raising a spectral hand toward the darkened city. "Mock those who warn you. Use the truth for your selfish ends, and you shall make it worse, and reap the end thereof." Scrooge, pale and shaken, cried out, "Have they no refuge or resource? Are there no prisons?" said the spirit, turning upon him with dreadful calm. "Are there no workhouses?" Then the bell struck 12. Scrooge looked about for the ghost, but it was gone. And as the final chime faded into the silence, he remembered the words of old Jacob Marley, and lifting his eyes, beheld a solemn phantom, shrouded and hooded, gliding toward him like a mist creeping across the frozen ground.